a particularly unusual thing happen. A customer placed an order on my Etsy site. We communicated via text, via email, and somehow there was a massive miscommunication about what the customer actually ordered. So what's in this box is the customer sending the set back to me. I'll show you what's in here. I have never had this happen before, that I completely did an order wrong. This is a set of dominoes with the storage box, Cato's bones. The customer did not ask for the word bones to be added to this. That's something I did. So to have me replace the box makes sense because they didn't request that. I did that, so I do need to correct that. But we have our little thank you gifts and everything else back in the box. The dominoes were actually shrink wrapped in the package, but these, believe it or not, were supposed to be dominoes. I think you can see all of those. When the order was placed, the customer asked for black and green, and that's what I created, a black and green set of dominoes with this name on them. However, when they received the order, they said this absolutely was not what they were expecting. They were looking for a set of dominoes that had the flag from Guyana on it. So since this was such a major miscommunication, if you put that you want black and green, I'm giving you black and green. But this is not what they thought they were getting, and so I am redoing this entire order at no cost to the customer. But they've sent everything back. Your package always comes with care instructions. It comes with a little thank you card. I always include my business card, and then usually some kind of thank you token. And these are keychain charms. So, you know, female, male, whatever you choose. But anyway, so what we're going to do today is make a brand new set of dominoes with a brand new storage box, and it will be in the colors of the flag of the country of Guyana. So I am fixing a major communications error. It is my goal always to exceed the expectations of my customers, and this was just totally not there. So they sent it back to me, so I am going to just hold on to this and use this as a sample when I go out and do craft fairs. But we're going to make a brand new set with the flag of the country of Guyana. All right, so we are ready to make a replacement set of dominoes with the theme of the flag of Guyana. And so we need our dominoes mold, and then we need the mold for the storage box, our resin, Craft Smart Part A, Craft Smart Part B hardener, we are going to need both a large and a small measuring cup. For the large measuring cup, my larger stir stick. We are doing 5 colors. The flag of Guyana is one of only a handful that has 5 colors on it. So we need 5 paper cups, 5 stir sticks, our nitrile gloves to protect our hands, our mica powders. I will be using Eye Candy Baku Red. Finally found a red. A lot of them look pinky. Eye Candy Imperial Gold. This gold has a lot of yellow in it, so I like that. Eye Candy Imperial Jade. And then we're going with, you can see the heat gun got to this. Can you see it? It is the Pearl X Macro Pearl. And then I used this Rolio Silver Ash the other day and really like the finish. But it's not truly black. It's like a dark gray. And so to make sure it comes off as black, Silver Ash looks more black than gray. I'm going to also be using the, I think this is Holt's Pitch Black Alcohol ink. When I paint the pips on the dominoes, the pips and the lines, I'll be using the Deco Art Gloss Varnish. We are going to be putting the name on the box and on the dominoes in vinyl. So I have the Cricket, and this is green, and we have the Cricket removable vinyl in, where's the color on that? Between the rubber bands, in black. And that's it. So let's clear all this off and get started. Alright, so to make the dominoes with the colors of the flag of Guyana, the dominoes are actually being created in 4 layers. So the bottom layer is the red and the green. Then we will come back and put in a yellow or gold layer. Then we will put in the white layer that we need as the background for the flag, and then the top coat. So it's four pours to get these dominoes done. I always mark how much resin I need. So I need 200 milliliters to get started for that first layer. And my measuring cup is marked. In every video, I remind crafters to make sure they're following the manufacturer's instructions. In this instance, we are required to do a 1-to-1 mixing ratio, and we are required to mix for a minimum of 5 minutes. So that's what we're going to do. So we always pour the hardener in first. So we have our Part B hardener. And we need 100 milliliters. And we have our Part A resin, again 100 milliliters. So that's our 1-to-1 ratio, 100 and 100, and then we need to mix for 5 minutes. Alrighty, one thing I left off my materials list was 2 large paper cups, because this 200 has to be divided between these two cups so that each cup has 100 milliliters. Alrighty, that looks good to me. So we are going to put our Baku red in the first cup and mix well. Yeah, I've had a couple of reds. This is a red. A lot of the two of the reds that I purchased from other brands were more pink than red. This is actually closer to like a fire engine red. Okay, so we have our Baku red mixed. Set that there. And now we need to mix our Imperial Jade. Okay, so that's our green. So now we're going to pour some red into one small cup and some green into a small cup. Only because it's easier to control. And then pinch your cup, put a crease in your cup to kind of make a spout. Sticky up. Okay, and then we pour at the same time, and you have to just take your time to get a nice even pour. Beautiful. And it works better if you are doing what I'm doing and pouring side to side. Alrighty, I need to add some more resin to each of these cups. And when I do and when I do this next row, this was red and green. Now we're going to switch them, and we're going to do green and red. That way, if anything drips, it'll drip into the color. If this green drips, it's going to drip into green. And as for how much I'm pouring, I'm basically making sure that the pips, that the little dots are covered. Okay, and then we refill our cups again. And so now we're going to switch sides again. That way, if any red drips, it's going to drip into red. Angle that a little more. fill our cups again. These look like, this reminds me of Christmas, this red and green. So again, we're switching cups, switching sides. Oop, I've got a little dog hair in there. Can't get that out now. I'm just scraping the rest of the resin out of these big cups. Okay, and so now we're just going to go back and top off. Just use the rest of this to make sure these are even.
This needs a little more red.
And this way you can kind of straighten out your lines by adding more and pushing the resin where you need it to go. But for the most part, those lines look pretty darn good. And I don't think when we're pricing, crafters, when they price their work, really don't account for the amount of time it takes to create whatever it is they are producing. But this is time consuming to do it right. Let me just say it like that. This takes time to do this correctly. All right, so we will cover this and let this set for a few hours, and then we'll be back in to put our gold layer on here. So that's layer number 1, the red and green. We will come back next and do the gold. Oh, forgot my heat gun. Get rid of these bubbles that I see. That sure looks like Christmas to me. Okay, I am back. We can take the cover off of these. So we have our first layer done, and so now we want to pour our gold layer. And so I have marked my cup. We're only going to be using 80 milliliters, so that's 40 of A, 40 of B. So let's get that mixed up now. Part B, hardener. And 40 milliliters of the Part A resin. And we know from our first pour that this will be 5 minutes of stirring, mixing, so here we go. Okay, so our next layer will be the Imperial Gold. As opposed to me pouring this resin into one of the paper cups, I'm just going to put the mica powder directly into this cup. I can pour this easily because this does have a spout. So I always have to do like a test to see if that will cover. See if that will cover that. I'm going to add a little bit more. I want to make sure that that is dark enough to cover that red and that green. Although it's actually going to be under a white layer, so it doesn't have to be super, super dark. But I want to make sure that it stands out. Okay, so our Imperial Gold is mixed. 80 milliliters. Alrighty. Okay, and then we take the little bit we have. These all filled, but I've got corners on a few of these that did not, so we have to go back and add a little more to these. Alrighty, so that's our gold layer. And so we need to pop our air bubbles. Alright, and then we need to cover this and let this cure a few hours before we come back in and put the white layer on. Alright, there we go. Alrighty, I'm back. Let's take this off. So our yellow layer is done, so now we need to do the white layer to go underneath the flag. The cup has been marked. I'm only doing 60 milliliters. So again, 30 of the Part B hardener. of the Part A resin, and we know we mix for 5 minutes. So now we are going to add our macro pearl, which is the white that we're using. And again, this is the background for the names and the flag. The flag will not show up. The artwork, the artwork on the flag will not show up unless you have a nice white background. And this is really a pretty pearlescent. I really should change my pricing and start charging per color because of the amount of time it takes to do these colors in layers. Okay, so every rectangle has white all the way to each corner. So we need our heat gun to pop any air bubbles. And when you are doing this, pay particular attention to your edges. Make sure there are no bubbles around these edges. Alrighty then, let's cover this again. And while this is setting, we'll go work on our stickers and lettering. Well, I did something to my camera, and so I did not actually get this recorded correctly. So I am now trying to recreate what I recorded earlier. And that is the first half of step 4, which is creating the personalization to go on the dominoes. Okay, so what I actually had said was while the top layer is curing, that white layer, I'll create the personalization. So the first half of the personalization is doing the names, and I am using the Cricut design space to do that, and my Cricut Joy machine. So we are in Cricut Joy, So I have already created the names. I've chosen a couple of fonts. And so the way this works is we then go up here to the upper right hand corner and we click on the word Make It. And then we click on the mat, because that's how I do most of my work, is on a mat. And we hit confirm. And then you'll choose these mats by color. So we're going to go to, okay, so we're going to go to the green mat, and then we are going to hit, okay, so we are on the green mat, and we're then going to hit continue at the bottom. Then you are asked to choose the material. We're going to be choosing smart vinyl that's removable. Then it asks you to insert your material into the machine and then hit go. I don't have material to insert because I've already done this. I'm going to be trying to grab some video from the other project. Okay, now it asks you to put your material, load your material into the machine. And so I'm going to be trying to add some video from the earlier piece where it didn't record properly. So we load our mat into the machine, and then we hit go, and it will then cut the names. And you see it cutting here. And then when it is finished cutting, we then unload the mat. And then here you see Kato in the green vinyl. So now what's left to do is to use the weeding tool and to remove the excess vinyl. And be sure to get the little pieces that are left in the E's and the A's and the O's. And then we repeat this process for the black lettering. And once that's done, we're ready to put these on our dominoes. Okay, so if you are here and you go up to elements, this right here, and you click on elements, then you type in what element you're looking for. And so we are looking for the Guyana, Guyana flag. And what will come up, and I always hit graphics. So you have a wide variety of choices. So this flag is the one I have over here. This map, I believe, is the one that I have here. And then this one with the reduced color would be this one right here. But if you go down, you have one with a hand, one that's round, one that's sort of rippled. You have a heart, flag on a pole. You have 2023, so you have variety. People, lots of variety. So that's where I get my artwork from to put over here. We are going to be printing this on clear waterslide decal paper. And I use this now instead of using tattoo paper or using sticker paper. And our first step tells us to make sure that we are printing 300 DPI, dots per inch. But the most important thing is that you are printing on glossy photo paper. Glossy photo paper. Okay, so we're going to let this print. All right. It has printed. And so our step 2 tells us that we need to let this dry for a minute or two. And then we're supposed to take this to a well-ventilated area, and then we're going to spray it with a sealer. So we're going to head out back on my patio, and we're going to get this sprayed. I am outside. I think you can hear my neighbor's saws going. And step number 2, using the waterslide paper, says that you need to seal your image. So again, I am loyal to Rust-Oleum 2X, and this is their clear gloss. Give it a good little shake, and then a light spray. And the directions on the instructions say spray in 3 separate coats. So we have done coat number 1, and I will be back in a couple of minutes to do coat number 2. Alright, I'm back for coat number 2. Set that there so the wind doesn't blow that away. Alright, and coat number 3. And then when this dries, we can then bring these inside and we can cut them out and attach them to our tiles. Alrighty, it's time to take the cover off and get the personalization done, or at least started. So these are all nice and dry. And I ordinarily, or not, I don't want to say ordinarily, I have been doing my decals using stickers, and today I am going to do something different. I'm going to try and use the inkjet water slide paper and see how that works. So this is a test for me as well as a test for you. So I'm going to cut one out. I have my water right here, and so I'm actually going to cut around the map. And they tell you to leave a little bit of border so you have something to hold on to. So this will be me trying something new, and you get to see how it turns out. Okay, so we've cut our flag. We're going to drop our flag into the water. Let the whole thing get wet. Let me move that over. Okay, and once it's wet, then, oh, not yet. It's wet, it's got to soak a minute or two. Alrighty, let's try it now and see if the design slides. Oops, 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 yes it did. Woo! Okay. Alright, and then take your fingers and smooth out the wrinkles. Oh, I did not expect that. Alright, that looks good, so let's cut the rest of these out. And again, I'm cutting around these. And so now that we see that it does work, I'm going to go ahead and sit here and do all of these, and then I'll just fast forward through it because you don't really need to see me do each individual one. Drop that in some water. And let me just say, the part about spraying your artwork, if you do not spray it, when you stick it in the water, the ink will just run off. So trust someone who's tried it and errored. Now these are very delicate, so you have to make sure you don't tear them. All right, which one went in first? This one? So we want to put this on here. All right, that one went on properly. No creases. Oh, that looks good. Beautiful. Beautiful. That works, that works, that works. That works. I'm kind of liking the water slide paper better than using the stickers. On the stickers I always have a lot of trimming to do, and sometimes with the stickers every now and then you'll see one that has a little air bubble under it. I'm really good when they say water slide, that literally just slides right off of there. Very nice. And while it's still wet, you can reposition it if you need to. Okay, first row is done. Let's do the second row. Okay, let's do the next row. And you will notice that these flags are lighter than those, and that's because we're going to be putting the name on here in vinyl. I had never heard of water slide paper. I saw it on a YouTube video with a young lady doing tumblers, putting her metal tumblers on a turner, and then she did the water slide decals. She called them water slide decals, and that's how I was introduced to this, watching someone use this on tumblers. Our flags are on here. And get rid of all this garbage, all this trash right here. And now again, just going in with my paper towel to absorb some of the excess moisture. All right. So now you watched me cut the letters, the names out. I have them in the black and I have them in the green. The black lettering is going over the flag. The green lettering is going on the plain white squares. So we need to simply cut these. Okay, so if you work with vinyl at all, you know that the easiest way is to just put a piece of transfer tape over it, burnish. That burnish means to rub it hard. Again, I had used the Cricut tool, but before I got the Cricut tool, I was using a credit card. And then we want to take that name and we want Put it right there. Burnish the name onto the tile. Pull this off at a 45-degree angle, and there you go. This large Kato goes on the storage box. Okay, so I will be back in about an hour. I'm going to give these plenty of time to dry. An hour, I don't know, whatever, I've got some things to do. So I'll be back, and then we're going to put the black names on top of those light colored flags. Alrighty, left the water slide paper to dry. It is dry, and so now we need to put the name in black on the light colored flags. So again, I'm just going to turn this because it's put the name on there, burnish it. So we know it's the same process. Burnish the lettering onto the transfer tape, pull the backing off, and then burnish the lettering onto the tile. Okay, so all of the lettering, all of our personalization is done. So then the last thing we need to do is seal this with a clear coat. So that means we are doing, okay, I don't think I actually need 60, but I'm going to do 60 anyway. I would rather have a little more than a little less. So we have 30 milliliters of the Part B hardener. And 30 milliliters of the Part A resin. We really only need 40, but I'm gonna do 60. And we know we are mixing for 5 minutes. Alright, so our clear resin is mixed, and so now all we have to do is just pour the resin onto the tiles to seal them in, and we will be almost through. Alright, and then carefully Spread that out to the edges. Make sure you do not scratch your artwork. Alrighty, so all of these have been clear coated. So now we're going to take the heat gun and pop any air bubbles. Okay, so those will stay and cure overnight. Alrighty, let's get this off of here and let's get these out of here. And because my table is not level, I already can see the resin ran over on some of these, but we'll take a look, see how they come out of here. Okay, so there are our dominoes, and so I need to cut these that where the resin ran between them. Separate those. Okay, so you can probably see where that was cut. And so I take my Dremel and I sand every single domino. But for these that I cut, I take the cuticle cutter and I just go in and take off that excess before I start with the Dremel. And again, you want to cut it because you don't want to crack. You want to cut it because you do not want to risk cracking. The finish on your domino. Okay, and so now before I actually mix the varnish to paint the pips, I'm going to go through and I'm going to sand the edges of every single domino. Okay, band popped off. And the domino actually went into the vacuum. Okay, so that's twice now. The bands have one tore, this one just completely popped off. At the start of the video, I put a little slide up that says protective gear. Make sure that you are wearing a mask. And make sure you're protecting your eyes. That would have been the perfect example of why you need eye protection, because if that thing had popped and come backwards and hit me in my face, it could have taken my eye out. So when you are advised to use safety precautions, by all means do so. That's an example of why you need eye protection. Let's get these finished. Is this one done? Okay, these have all been sanded. Nice smooth edges. And again, I like these little Swiffer dusters because they do a terrific job of getting rid of all the dust. Okay, so everything has been sanded, so now it's time for us to paint our pips. That's wet. Some people use markers to paint their pips. Other people use acrylic paint and a brush to paint their pips. I prefer to use the clear gloss varnish because, again, I know this is permanent. And so all I do is give this a good shake. And I can't tell you how much that is, but I know that's 2/3 of that container. And then we had this Rolio Ash Silver that we're going to add to this. And again, that's such a little teeny bit of varnish. And this does have more of a, it's a dark, it's pretty. So it's more of like a charcoal gray, but I like the sparkles. I like the way it sparkles. And so to make this blacker and less gray, I'm adding the Holtz Black alcohol ink, and this says pitch black. So we're going to add a few drops of that. Two drops of that. And now this should be darker. Okay, and this should darken when it dries. Now that almost looks gold. Those little pieces, those little flecks. That's weird. One more drop of black, because that's not turning that like black. And the name of this is Pitch Black, but mixed in with that mica powder, we're not getting a pitch. Okay, that's darker. And then I simply pour this into my little squeeze cups. And I like these little needle nose. And then we do our pips. And this is particularly nice because it fits right down into that line. And I have actually seen photos online of people selling dominoes and they didn't paint the line. They painted the dots, but they didn't paint the line. Trying to change the shadow on that. Something's in my nozzle. Alrighty. There's something blocking my nozzle. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, so the pips are all dry, and so what we need to do now is just varnish the sides of these. And so I have my Deco Art Dura Clear Gloss Varnish. I pour some into my little bowl right there, and then I take my paintbrush and I proceed to paint each one of the sides. And I don't know, let me see, I'm always got to get up and walk around. I keep saying I'm going to get a better camera set up. One day I will, when I can get consistent sales. So when you sand these, I don't know if the light does that. When you sand these, they actually look white around the top. I don't know if I can show you this or not. Let's see if you can tell the difference. Yeah, you can actually see. And so what I do is I go back and I polish. Well, I guess technically it's like polishing, but I go over every domino with varnish so that the sides are all nice and shiny. So I am going to sit here and do all of these, and obviously I'm gonna put this on fast forward. Nobody's gonna sit and watch me paint each of these dominoes. But I go through and I do all of the sides and all of the edges, and then they're beautiful. And I'm always talking about how you finish your work, and this would be an important part. That's our last one. All right, and so these are done.